Alrighty. Hello, everybody. It is right on time, like right there. So I wanted to come on just a few minutes early so that I could perhaps greet some people and be ready when we are here to jump right in. So Michelle Carvin, good to see you. Karen, Lena, get your phone in case you have to text me, girl, okay? It's so good to see everybody here. Alvita, Ada, good to see you. Yes, so I'm able to. I'm better tonight. Waiting on you to say something to me, Carisha, Michelle, Cynthia, so that we can jump right in here. 8:30. Welcome. You have landed in the right space. That is like my philosophy about the Dr. Gina Lynn community, this notion that we're just better together, that collective empowerment and being able to unite and give each other insight and wisdom, it's a really, really, really good thing. So thank you all for being here. Let me grab my notes real quick. I can see some of your names. Masadi, hey friend. Howdy, howdy, whoop. Thank y'all for coming. Eureka, I see you delving in. Mary Thompson, I see you delving in. I'm trying to watch two screens. So thank y'all so much. It is 8:31. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just talk a little bit. I ran the video earlier and we'll do that again right after this time that we will have together. I want to make sure that you are looped in to the different events that are happening. So I'm just going to say this graciously. We do have Bloody Bloodlines that's there. The event's already created. It's not really letting me be great and invite new folk. So go ahead. Hey, Kanisa, go ahead and sign yourself up and get in on that information. But please make sure you note that we have a time change. We will most often do our events, the ones that are gifted to you, on first Saturdays. And so when life gets busy again, because it will, I want to make sure that we're already adjusted to a new time. So it's going to start at 8. I tell you, I get teared up thinking about Bloody Bloodlines and the things that we will share and talk about. So make sure that you get in on that event. We will put the Zoom information in there shortly, but right now we're letting people get signed up. And then two other things that you probably saw in the loop, but I want to make sure that you're aware of it, even though we're not talking much about it. That is one, we have our Sanctity Conference coming. If so many of you are already my girlfriends. So when you see the lineup, you already know the quality. It's one of the reasons that I don't feel the need to like push it, because I already know what's going to happen. But for those of you who may not be as familiar with the people who are on the lineup, I will begin to drip some tidbits from them and let them introduce themselves to you. But I want to tell you in advance, by the time that promo rollout rolls out, the pre-sale pricing will be gone, and we will have made the event public to the general public. Right now, we have only posted in the DGL community, both to our subscribers and to you right here, so that you know first. When May 8th hits and we begin to release the promos, we will be posting to the general public. So I'm telling you again in advance, go ahead and get your seats. Those of you who know the speakers, y'all can go ahead and put some amens down here in the comments, because y'all already know. But the Sanity Conference is coming for July the 25th. It is a virtual conference. So that's all I'll say about that, and move to this quickly. And then the book. For those of you who have already purchase the book, I want to remind you to check your email for information about our private event, as well as just some updates, because we're going to need more time to do the things that we need to do. But it's for those of you who wanted to be a part of the book study and a part of that community. So check that out as well. Let's see. So with that being said, I think I've hit most things. You can go ahead and tag a friend if you still want to do that, to invite them to be a part of this. And I'm going to ask you if you will help me welcome my special guest that I am bringing on with us tonight. So let me give her this warm up while I get her situated. Y'all go ahead and welcome. You can type it in the comments. Welcome, Miss Deborah Jones. And there she is. Deborah, so welcome. And I'm sure my community out there is welcoming you as well. They are clapping. You can see that right here in the notes. So tonight we're going to delve right into Miss Naomi. Sharice, good to see you. Alice, I knew you'd be here. Good to see you. So with that being said, one more, I'm greeting everybody. Miss Deborah, you can wave at them too, because when we dive into the lesson, I'm going to avoid coming over here to say names because I know so many of you, and I will start having a full-fledged conversation. So hello to everybody who is here tonight. Let me pause, catch my breath right here, and say this. And I said this to Deborah earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. I'm really grateful that each of you would take the time to come and join us here tonight. I recognize with so many lives, so many Zooms, so many conferences, so many virtual things that are happening, there are plenty of places that you could be. So I don't take it for granted that you are here. And Deborah and I are going to do our best to ensure that you have a very quality time on tonight. And I will make up for the time that I've done announcements and will come on earlier next week. But we will try to ensure that you have a quality time here. So I want to thank you for that. And then I also want to thank you, and it is sincerely just that. It is a thank you. I want to thank every single one of you who, for whatever reason, you continue to send me kind notes, and some of you send me giftings as well. And I appreciate it. Those of you who have sat through a session with me called Silencing the Silence about the thoughts that we have in our own head, my lie that the devil tries to revisit in my head is, are you good enough? And so each time that you come to a space that I have created, each time you give, each time that you write a note, I read every single one. I tell my dear friend Yolanda, my eyes tear up. Literally, somebody sent me a gift yesterday, and I just thought, wow, like that's my battle. So each time that you do that and you come, I thank you. I appreciate you. I acknowledge that you don't have to be here. And I want to do my best to make sure that it was worth it for you to come. So thank you. And with that, Miss Deborah, we're going to get ready to jump right in. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so tonight we're visiting with Miss Naomi, and I asked Deborah to join me on today, and I met Deborah actually via one of her conferences. So she does women work as well, and I'm going to remove some of this stuff. Y'all can see, those of you who know I'm extra, y'all know I was playing with stuff today, learning how to use my new stuff, but I'm going to just move something. So Deborah Jones, I met her at a conference. It was called Women Breaking Barriers, and so I knew that we had a kindred kind of sisterhood there because she's all about women empowerment, this sense of us coming together. We're not in competition. When I needed help with something, she's like, girl, try these resources. And likewise, so she already has a mindset. So the mindset of this, which is women lifting other women. And so again, Deborah, I welcome you tonight. I welcome your voice into this conversation. And then for those of you who are watching as well, I welcome your voice via the chat. So Naomi, we're going roadside, Miss Deborah, and those who follow the study, they kind of know we're going roadside again. So Naomi has had some really good moments, right? She had a husband. Her husband, in an effort to avoid the famine that was happening in their hometown, moves her into a new country, and things are good. She has her sons get married. So there's Naomi. But if we look at that, and especially if we look at that as women, a lot of the decisions that were being made, they were being made by someone else. Her husband is what the Bible emphasizes over and over again, which is typical to biblical days. He was making a lot of decisions, and Naomi's life was kind of right in that. Then an upset happens. And I don't know about you. Maybe you can relate to this. When life happens and it just kind of knocks the wind out of you and it is not going exactly like you planned. And so Naomi finds herself there where life is not going exactly as she planned. And so her husband passes, and then her two sons passes. And even though this is a biblical study, y'all, she's a woman just like you and I. So we can only imagine the magnitude of that, to lose her husband, to lose her children, to feel as if she has lost everything. But one of the things that I said today is that we would talk about how to not lose you when you feel as if you're losing everything. And so if you can relate to that, you can just put amen somewhere in the chat. But if you've ever experienced moments in life when you can feel as if I am losing everything, But the thing is, Deborah, we don't want to lose ourselves. So I'll invite you into the conversation by asking you that question. Have you ever been in a moment in your life when you felt as if you were losing you? You were losing your identity. You were losing your values. You were losing what was a priority to you. Have you ever had that moment in your life?
I have. Actually, I've had that moment or moments a number of times. It's interesting because I think women, just in general, are caregivers. So
Mm,
we take care of everybody else, and a lot of times we put others' needs before our own. And so there has been a time when I felt like, hey, I'm losing everything, but if I lose everything, what about me? Where am I going to be? What am I going to do? And
yeah.
so I'll share this with you. I can recall I'm here in Houston, and my mother passed away.
Mm,
And so I'm a mama's girl.
yeah.
And so I felt like there was no reason to even hang on
Mm,
because mama's gone, right?
mm,
But there was another reason to hang on, and it wasn't even for me, it was for my son. So
mhm,
again, I'm losing my mother, but I have a reason to stay focused and to stay here because I have someone that's depending on me. And so
mm,
in that particular instance, what it did was gave me someone else to focus on to keep from losing myself completely.
yeah.
And so I think as women, again, as caregivers, often we have that issue that we're caring for others, but there are times when caring for others is going to be helpful to us. At least
Yes.
that's what I saw in my own life. Yep.
Yeah. So in that particular moment, that's how you found you, or that piece of you, the piece of you that was at least a mother. So when we think about Naomi, if you were a part, and Deborah, thank you for sharing. Y'all come on, clap it up for my friend right there. Y'all can put it right there in the comments. For those of you who were part of the first study, you may remember this water bottle. We weren't this advanced. I want y'all to remember how far we have come. That first time, do y'all remember I had to jog off the camera and go find my little old something? Y'all know. But Tommy, I'm better today, girl. I got it sitting right here. So during the first segment, we were talking about Naomi, and I mentioned to you all that one day I just happened to be playing around with this bottle, and I turned it upside down and it was empty. And so when I put the nozzle back in, I don't know what made me do it, but I put the nozzle back in, and I hit the spray thing, and stuff came out. And I remember thinking, this is empty, like it's empty. But then I had to remind myself that the bottle has a reservoir. That even though it appeared to be empty, the bottle had a reservoir. I want you to receive that today, that you have a reservoir. And we reminded ourselves via Naomi. Well, Naomi reminded us that Naomi had a reservoir, and her reservoir was what she knew about her God. In her most difficult moment, when she was losing everything, Naomi said, now, you know what? All of these people in Moab, they worship a different God. They have traditions and customs and things that I don't do. And so, right about now, when I have lost everything, one of the things that I can do not to lose me is to remember who I am. So, what I'm going to do is go back to my people, and I'm going to go back to my God. So, she, in the midst of what everybody else had going on, she reminded herself of who she was. She reminded herself of who she is. So, Miss Deborah, I'm going to tee that up to you while I allow the chat to kind of join in with us. And this will be our question, you all. We want to ground ourselves just like Naomi did. So give me this quick moment, and Deborah, I'll have you think about this question first. And then let me take that ticker off real quick. Let me just do this. Okay. So in my core, I am. In my core, I am. Because if we are going to ensure that we get to our next, we may have to do like Naomi and remind ourselves of who we are. So I'm going to quickly go into the chat and put mine. I invite you all to put yours, and then we'll circle right back to you, Ms. Deborah. So everybody take a moment, and in the chats, remember, put who you are. Answer this prompt that I have here. In my core, I am. And mine would be creative. I've had to depend on that. Didn't see it go in, but my word is creative. In my core, I'm resilient. I'm creative. You can add whichever words. I see someone putting diligent, dependable, consistent. You can add your words with this. Miss Deborah, I'll tee it up to you. In your core, you are.
You know, I love that question, and I love the fact that you and others are answering it the way you are. Because a lot of times when we think about who we are in our core, we want to dumb it down, right? So I'm
Mhm.
going to say this: in my core, I am amazing. I really
In
am.
your core. Woo!
I am amazing.
Let me snatch it. I'll give it right back to you. She said that oftentimes when someone asks us who we are, we try to dumb it down. She said so with some sense of umph about yourself, Deborah. You said I in your core you are what?
I am amazing.
She said she's amazing, y'all. So I see people saying, Katie, hey, caring, loving, committed, nurturing. In my core, I am. Kanisa is with you. She said, awesome. Awesome. So I think that's great to really be able to remind yourself of who you are. Now I'm gonna get ready to go to two because I'm only giving y'all 30 about 30-ish minutes. I owe you 5 for my long announcements. But this is what I want us to get. For Naomi, it was a sense that there was a famine all around her, that she was losing things. But in her core, Naomi knew, but I'm God's daughter. And I heard, Deborah, that he over there taking care of folk. And I'm qualified to be one of those folk. So what we have to do when we're trying to get to our next, we have to oftentimes remind ourselves of who we are. Deborah says she's awesome. Alice says that she's persistent. I have somebody who's saying they're loyal. There's somebody else who's saying they're trustworthy. Somebody else said they're a teacher. Someone is saying they're love. Like we have to remind ourselves of that. And when circumstances all around us are trying to tell us otherwise, Tommy, you said you're victorious. When somebody said a warrior, yes, yes, to all of that, I'm here for it. Yes, loyal is one. But when circumstances or when people have put negative things into your head about you, if you really want to get to your next, if you want to transition out of famine into abundance, you got to remember who you are. You got to remember who you are. Beside of you are, you're strong and you're resilient. Yes, ladies. Yes. And we are celebrating everything that we are. Katie, yes, ma'am. You're a daughter of the king. Yes, ma'am. So we're taking all of this in for ourselves and reminding ourselves. Let it water you today, ladies. Let what you see going across the screen. And if that's you, if you see one that says that's for you too, you're welcome to like it or give that person a heart. Yes, because we're reminding ourselves of who we are. Somebody is saying vivacious. Yes. Remember who you are. So number 2, then, if we jog all the way down, Deborah, to about Ruth chapter 1, about verses 11 through 14. Here is number 2. If we are going to get to our next, whether we're in a good space or whether we're in a not so good space, whether it was the moments when Naomi had her husband and her kids, or it's the moments when Naomi is losing everything and she does not want to lose herself, she had to remember who she was. But number 2, Naomi does this in about verses 11 through 14. When Ruth and Orpah are getting ready to go with Naomi, I love this point. When Naomi says to them, she says, look, y'all need to go ahead and go back. Deborah, do you remember why she was telling them to go back? We kind of chatted about this. Do you remember what she said to them?
Basically, I have nothing for you.
Yeah.
Go. I'm too old. You're not getting a new man through me.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
said, Deborah said, she said, you're not getting a new man through me. You're not going to get your needs met through me. Why is that freeing to me? Naomi, in that space of not being in a good space for herself, Naomi was bold enough to say, I have nothing to give. Now, I want you all to hear me. I want you to hear me first as it relates to that. I likened it very much to when we get on those airplanes, y'all know we shouldn't be on them right about now. But when we're on airplanes, one of the first things that they tell us is to learn how to put the air mask on ourselves first. They said, because in an emergency, you can't try to save other people when you have not saved yourself. And sometimes when we're trying to get to our next, we need to be okay with acknowledging, I have nothing else to give. It's putting boundaries around ourselves. And it's saying right about now, I'm trying to rescue me. Right about now, I'm trying to help me get to my next place. And women struggle with that. So, Deborah, I'll have you just jump in right about there. Why is it that you think women struggle with really telling other people, having boundaries? Or you said with your family, so you can kind of share from that space.
Oh, sure. You use the analogy of using the mask and dealing with yourself first. And so I had an epiphany or a shift probably about 10 years ago when I realized that I was doing everything for my family, everything. And I shared a bit of it with you, even concerning my husband. When we went places, when he got ready to get dressed, he didn't even have to consider what he would put on or in what order. It was all laid out. That was something that I wanted to do for him. But at some point, when you have other competing responsibilities, you have a life, you have a job, you have children, you have friends, you have church, you have whatever, something that interests you. I can't lay your clothes out every day. I can't do all those things. And so then you have to pull back and do things that are important, that will be helpful to your family, but to yourself too.
Yeah,
Because if I'm not happy, if I'm not good, I'm not good for you.
yeah,
And so, yeah, the mask goes on. I find that there are other things that I like to do that may not include you. I might like to sit down and read a book, and it's not for you; it's for me. And so those were some of the things I had to consider. Yes,
yeah,
ma'am. My
yeah.
mask.
So air mask. So if you're in your home, you can do just like this. So we can remember this for ourselves. It's our symbol. It's our symbol. If you can hear me, if you're in your homes, you can do just like this to remind yourselves every once in a while. Air mask you. Air mask you. And Deborah says she had to like process and like, why am I laying out these clothes? And now that and now that you don't even have sometimes all of those added responsibilities, you still opting not to go back, to return back to doing things that totally took all of you from you. So I'm gonna ask you ladies that over here in the chat, maybe so that other people can even see your input. How do you air mask you? And even if your honest answer is, I don't. But be very clear that during this moment when Naomi was depleted and Ruth and Orpah were determining that they were going to go along with Naomi, roundabout verses 11 through 14, Naomi emphatically explains to them, I have nothing to give. I have nothing to give to you. So, right there in the comments section, how do you air mask you? Someone put, I've learned the power of no. I see a lot of no is a complete sentence. Yeah, that's a whole lesson that we've talked about. How do you air mask you? Some of you may have, somebody put, I don't. Thank you for being honest with that, sis. Thank you. Some of you may have your prayer closet. Some of you may have that good girlfriend that you just chatted out with. Some of you may just take a good old nap. Some of you may like special treats and you give them to yourselves. Like it's important. Deborah says she sometimes just wants to read a book. How do you air mask you? Katie, thank you. I see. Thank you. I see several of you saying, I'm not the best at that. I don't do a good job at that. And probably because we don't teach about it a lot, and it's expected of women to do the opposite. But y'all get that. Naomi said, I have nothing else to give. I have nothing to give. And she made space for herself. Um, Tawanda says she empowers others. Um, somebody else is putting that no is a complete gardening. Get it, Karen, with some mint. Okay, so we have those two. Air mask yourself. I'm going to go back up to make sure that you have number one. I don't remember putting it up. So tip number one was remind yourself about yourself. If you have to put it on a post-it, if you have to put it as your screensaver, if you have to get an accountability person, especially when things are difficult, and you need to talk to that person once a week and say, help me. If you have to get a therapist, y'all who know me know I'm saved. I love Jesus and therapy all at the same time. Like if you need a therapist, if you need to just have you some quick reference scriptures that you can just quote over yourself, make sure that you remind yourself about who you really are and what the word of God says. Number two was air mask you. Air mask you. Take care of you. And then our last piece that I want to kind of just highlight for us tonight was towards the very end when Naomi is giving her last little pushback to Ruth and Orpha. And then even when Naomi arrives into the town, Naomi says, "Don't call me Naomi." Do you remember what she said to call her, Deborah?
Yeah, she wanted to be Myra. She wanted to go um, from a very pleasant person to bitter.
Yes.
Yeah, don't even call me that.
Don't even call me that. And what was she trying to articulate when she said, "Call me bitter"? Do you remember what state she was in,
Well,
emotionally and mentally?
yeah, she had lost everything that mattered to her, and
Yeah,
so she didn't feel like she was in a favorable position. And
yes.
so just call me bitter, you
Just
know?
bitter. I always love this point, you all, and I welcome you to really allow that to sink in. This is our tip number three. It's holler help just as you are. I just holler help just as you are. Like, we get that Naomi knew that she needed help, right? Because she gets up to go back to her people and back to her God. But I like that Naomi doesn't try to fix it up. She doesn't try to fix herself up before hollering for help. I think about it like my prayer partner Misha. Y'all, I tease her, and I've said this to y'all before. That's my prayer partner, but we text our prayer requests and we just pray like that there, but we just chunk it at each other when we want to, right? But it's like sometimes even when I'm going to go to her, I try to comb out my own hair and kind of fix it up a little bit before I go to the hairdresser. I don't know if any of you've ever done that. Or when you're going to go and get your car cleaned, you try to get the trash out before you go get the car cleaned. Or if you have a person who comes to maybe help you around the house a little bit as your support, you try to clean up a little bit before you go. And it's this mindset that even though I'm going to a place that can help me, I'm still over here trying to fix it up so that my mess up self doesn't look quite as messed up as I really am. My flawed self doesn't look quite as flawed as I really am. But Naomi was in a place where she was like, look, I'm messed up. I'm bitter. I feel like God has not been fair towards me. I feel like God has disappointed me. I feel like he could have stopped my folk from dying and he didn't. And I'm mad about it. And Ruth and Naomi ain't got nothing to give y'all. And then when she arrives to the town and they're like, hey, Naomi, hey, and don't even call me that. My attitude is bad. I know it, but I need some help. And I'm here. And I'm here. So that would be tip number three. Holler for help just as you are. Deborah, has there ever been a moment when you just really needed some help?
Oh my goodness. As you know, and I'm just going to be transparent here. There was a time I was working out of town in North Carolina, and I was physically ill. Do you hear me? I needed to go to the hospital. Do you know I had the audacity to make sure I had enough strength to take a good bath and lotion up before I went?
Yeah,
Because I didn't want to go to the hospital and them talk about me and say I wasn't clean.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah. But
You
that's
talking about clean? How? That was crazy. I thought about it later and I said, what would make me think that that was more important than making sure that I survived, that I was in good health? I wanted
yes,
to make sure I was lotioned up. Come on now.
yes. And
Something's
even
wrong with
something is wrong with that picture. And even though that's very simple and almost comical, when we think about it, oftentimes that's how we operate. We don't really reach and holler for help like we need help to the magnitude that we need help. And I remember for me in 2017, and I think I've shared this with you or several friends, it was just a really hard year for me. And one of the things that I did, which is where I invite you all in, is to do this. Katie, I see you saying that you're thankful for your small tribe. It segues me to the tangible tip for this. We have to set up lifelines. In 2017, I remember going through a really difficult space, Deborah, and it was one thing after the other. And I remember that before this one really major thing that was going to happen was happening, there was nothing I could do about it. I called a dear friend of mine and I said, I should find out some information about this particular thing today. And it's hard. And so I'm only going to have strength to say it one time. So I'm going to tell you, and then you tell this group of people for me. And they can check up on me, and I may not answer for a while. I just want you to make sure that they know, because I'm going to need your help to get through this point. And I was actually throwing my lifeline out there before the incident even happened. And I knew that I could go to this safe space without any context. Now, prior to that, you all, I had begun intentionally to try to sift through and create an intentional girlfriending group that pretty much needed me for nothing. I made no announcements to them. I didn't tell them that that was what I was doing. I just knew that I was in a really low place. Like Deborah, I was in a really low place emotionally and mentally, and I was tired. I called myself high functioning exhausted, where I was still able to go through the motions of my life, but my soul was tired. And so I would invite different girlfriends to stuff. And if they required a lot of effort, I knew that not for this season. And I'm going to be honest with you. It doesn't mean that they're not good people for your life. It just depends on what you're going through in your own life. And I knew that I was in a season where I just needed to be with some folk in my downtime who really let me be all the way down, who didn't require much of me. And so it was my way of hollering for help just as I am. And that's what Naomi did. I want you all to be encouraged in that you don't have to fix yourself up with God before you go for help. And you should also, we should all be intentional about making sure that we have people in our lives who at times can sense when you're not well and give energy and effort to taking care of you. Deborah, I'll ask you this question right here at 9. How do you ensure that you have lifelines in place?
Well, actually, your group serves as an excellent, excellent lifeline. And so, connecting with women, I was talking with one of my friends recently, but women, I can't speak for men, but I think we have a unique need to be part of each other's life. So, I do have a tribe of women. And I feel especially blessed that I have a tribe of sisters. I mean, natural sisters, as well as sisters, in the Lord. And so they are the ones that I depend on to keep me in check. And they know me too. They know me and they can tell when something's not right. Even if they say, "How are you?" and I say, "I'm good." And sometimes you're not good. But I also have those that I don't even have to say I'm good. I can be vulnerable. I can be honest and say it ain't too cool for me today. And
Yeah.
so that's how I'm able to function in that area.
Yes. Deborah, thank you for sharing that. And it leads me to a quick wrap up point here. It's one of the things that I believe in. So thank you for saying even this space because collective, hey, my crystal joy, I love you, girl. It's one of those things that we as women, we can lift one another. We really can collaborate and make one another stronger. We can validate the needs of one another, validate even when we don't have the solution. And so even as I'm watching this, I love that people don't feel a need to like fix folk and chunk scriptures upside people's heads and and do all of that, but letting it be a space where if the most you can say is I get you, I got you, me too, sis, and that's what's helpful. So again, I'm gonna just go back quickly and add the tips. Can you believe it's time? I owe them a little bit. But tip number 1 was remind yourself about yourself. Speak over their lives real quick, Deborah. Who do you want these women who are listening tonight to remember about themselves? What do you want them to know about themselves from your heart to other women?
Yeah, and as you were scrolling through the comments when we asked ourselves who we were, what we thought of ourselves, I want them to remember what they said to me and then add on to that the other things that God says about them as well. Because a lot of times we can see others and we can see the greatness in them, but we haven't even taken the time to look at our reflection through
Yes,
His eyes so He can say that greatness that's in them, there's greatness in you too. And so I think that's going to be very important. Remind
yes.
ourselves, you are all of that. Yeah,
You,
all
you,
of
you,
those words.
your word was what?
Amazing.
Amazing. So that can be our something, you all. You can give that to one another. Number 2 was air mask yourself. Air mask yourself. And for those of you who've ever come to one of my events, you know I believe in this whole breathe thing. So if you'll just take a moment with me and let's just go ahead and inhale. I say on a 5 count for grace. If you'll just take a deep breath, like from the bottom of your toes to the top of your head, let's do that. Let's exhale. Let's inhale one more time, real deep, real deep. You can close your eyes if you want to. Let's exhale one more time. And let's be churchy and do a third time, one for the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let's inhale one more time, deep, y'all. Let's exhale. Air mask yourself. And then number three, holler for help just as you are. You don't have to fix your hair up to go to the hairdresser. You don't have to clean your car to go to the person who's going to clean your car. And you certainly don't have to get it together to go to our daddy God. He is a God who can receive us just as we are. And be intentional about connecting with these groups that can help you just find your way, or your friendship groups. So those are our tangible tips for tonight. And I see your comments still coming in. So what I'm going to do real quickly is just remind us again. I'll play the announcements again, but I want to remind you that we have our June 16 coming. That's over there. The books are available for people who want to do that and deep dive with us in our private event, where we'll just have our book people there, just really discussing this. You see what we just did in 30 minutes. So imagine a lot longer together where we get to chat it out. And then yes, people have been inviting me. Someone asked me this. People have been inviting me to facilitate virtual settings like this in their groups, in their churches, and that absolutely you can. You can find me on the website. I should have had all that stuff here for you to look up, but y'all know I got a cute banner somewhere. But anyway, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. Also, Deborah, where can they find you? Where can they find your information? And then y'all stay with me so that we can wrap up with prayer. Deborah, where can they find you?
I'm on the internet at DeborahDJones.com and also on social medias, Deborah D. Jones, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Deborah D. Jones.
I'm going to let them see. I'm trying to remove everything so that they can just see your name as it's spelled, because there's some different versions of Deborah. She's just Debra, like that. So you can find her as well. Yeah. Um and what else was I going to say? I think that's it. We're at our 30 minutes. So I'm trying to be timely with that. Next week we will explore Orpha. Orpha. Hey, I have this thing too, real quick. Deborah was so willing to jump on with me tonight. So will you help me? Will you write a comment to Deborah? We're able to go back and see all of this later. So will you write a comment to Deborah, just thanking her for her transparency, for her sharing, for just being a part of the dialogue tonight. Next week, we're going to jog right on over to Orpha. I see them celebrating you, Deborah. We're going to jog right on over to Orpha, and we'll keep deep diving. What I will have for you tomorrow morning, well, actually, it's going to go up right after this, so that we can keep our discussion alive. I encourage you to sit with Naomi, to really process some things about her, both from the live lesson and even from tonight. And whatever Naomi nuggets that you take away, I'm going to invite you to post them, but so that we don't have to jump all over the group to find the comments. I'm going ahead. I want to say right now, y'all, if you can see it, let me know. And I'm posting Naomi Nuggets, big old green thing. And when you have a takeaway, why don't you just join the dialogue and put it right there so that we can all find them easily and get blessed by these nuggets that we have. So you should be able to see that right now in the Facebook group, and add to the conversation. Everybody can follow it. And I think that's it. I'm going to wrap up in a timely fashion tonight. Thank you so much again for being a part. Y'all, I can't tell you enough. Thank you so much for finding this worth your time and effort. Continue to tag, invite your friends as we grow. Make yourself aware of everything that we have going on again. And God bless you. So we're going to get ready to pray. Deborah, do you talk to Jesus? Do you pray to him?
Well, yes,
Well, yes, you do.
ma'am.
Yes, you do. So I want to also, hey, Dad Simon, one day I'm going to have you sitting in that other chair as my guest. I see you. Y'all say hello to my dad Simon, who's on here. So what we're going to do is just get ready to pray. Again, to moms and seniors, maybe my educator self is forever thinking about you all in these moments. So thank y'all. Y'all are so gracious giving me handful. Thank y'all. So we're praying for moms of seniors. Deborah, if you can make sure to loop them in. And then just people in general who have been impacted. If you are on furlough, have lost your job even, just having some financial stuff with that. I'm going to ask Deborah to pray over those types of things as it relates to this. And then when you're finished, Deborah, I'll just wrap us up and you with a final word of prayer. Okay? So you can go ahead.
Heavenly and gracious Father, we thank you so much for this time, for this space, God. And we come before your throne, God, with these requests. God, we ask that you would look in on each and every person, God, that has a need, whether that need be a financial, God, a physical need, a spiritual need, God, if they need just to silence the voices, God, that are saying that they won't make it through this time, God. We ask that you would help, God. Send your help, God. We are crying out, knowing, God, that our help comes from you. Lord, we also lift up to you, God, those parents that have children that are graduating this year and are experiencing it in a different way, God. Thank you so much, Lord, even as we are transitioning in this shift, God, that you will bring something great out of it. We trust you, God, in every area, and we bless you, God. We also, God, want to lift up this woman of God that you've given this time and space to connect others in this venue, God. We thank you for her, and we thank you for her gifts that she's rendered for us, God. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Father, I thank you for Deborah, our special guest on tonight. I thank you for every bit of her transparency and her voice that she lent to this conversation, for everything that she poured out. I thank you that you pour back into her. And then for every woman and man who found it just something that they wanted to be a part of, I thank you that your specific word meets their specific need, that tonight your answers collide with their situations, your solutions collide with their situations, and your ability collides with our lack. Everything about you that is great, that overtakes us, we submit ourselves to that tonight, and we trust you. And Father, my declaration over each of us is that may you who have begun a good work in each of us and every person, y'all go ahead and say your own names. I was going to read some, but you who've begun a good work in Lena and Deborah and Crystal and Katie and Tommy, and so many other people who are on here, may Dad Simon, you who've begun that good work, may you complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. And as your extra grace, God, I thank you that your peace that surpasses all understanding is guarding their hearts and it's guarding their minds. In Jesus' name. God bless you all. That is our time plus some for my announcements. I'll see you next week at an earlier time as we look into Ophrah. And you can, of course, invite your friends to check it out. The replay will be here in our DGO group. God bless you all. We love you all. Love you, Deborah. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a great night. Bye bye.